decimal system. Let's play with estimation. We use estimation all the time. Usually we use it to plan, compare. I use it a lot when I grocery shop, right? Figuring out how much money I need, sometimes how much time we're going to need to get somewhere. We estimate a lot because estimation helps us find quick, close answers without needing exact calculations. It's not always feasible to pull out your calculator to get exact answers, and that is where estimation comes in. It saves time and helps you spot mistakes in exact calculations. For instance, if I know I estimated to be 800, and then when I do the actual calculation, I get 14,000, we have a problem somewhere, and then I can address it from there. So it gives us a good way to spot mistakes. Now, how do we do this? Well, first, we're going to want to round the numbers, and you can decide based on the problem itself what you want to round to. Generally, there's no directions in life, so you have to decide on the number, what am I trying to find, how do I want to round? And so we're going to use compatible numbers. You always want to round to the same place value. So if you're rounding to the nearest 100, all of the numbers should be rounded to the nearest 100. Nearest 1,000, all of them should be rounded to the nearest 1,000. You pick and then round them all to the same one. This will make everything easier when they're all to the same place value. After you do the estimation and then your easier calculation, see if it makes sense. Too often in math, people lose their common sense because they do the math and then they just think it has to be right. Always use your common sense to determine, does that in fact make sense? Let's do an example. For just straight up numbers, we're going to add 647,751 plus 126,142, and we're going to do this mentally by rounding to the nearest 10,000. Okay, great. So the reason we do estimation, I don't want to add those numbers exactly in my head, but if I round each one first to the nearest 10,000, I can say, okay, 647,751 rounds to 650,000. That's what it's closest to when we're talking 10,000. 126,342 rounds to 130,000. If I'm thinking about mental math and I'm adding 650,000 plus 130,000, I can easily do that in my head. 6 plus 1, 5 plus 3, and I have 780,000 as my estimate. So the estimated sum is about 780,000. Generally, when we give our answers in estimation, we use the about or approximate, something like that to kind of demonstrate this is not an exact answer. This is estimated. Let's do a story problem. Javier is planning a road trip. He knows it's 83 miles from San Francisco to Sacramento, and then an additional 114 miles to South Lake Tahoe. This sounds like a fantastic trip. Estimate how far it is for Javier to drive from San Francisco to Sacramento to South Lake Tahoe. Okay, so we're looking at 83 miles and 114. Well, it makes sense to round to the nearest 10. So 83 rounds to 80, 114 rounds to 110. So I would add those together, 80 plus 110, approximately 190. So what does that mean? Javier will drive approximately 190 miles. Not too shabby. How about you try one? All right, so hit pause, try this one, come back, check out the answer. But a concert had 18,745 people attend on Saturday and 12,298 people on Sunday. About how many more people, can't read, attended on Saturday than on Sunday? Well, now I'm subtracting because I'm finding the difference between these two. And that can be hard when we have these long, weird numbers. So let's first round to the nearest 1,000. 18,745 is close to 19,000. 12,298 is close to 12,000. Now, these are a lot nicer numbers. So I'm finding the difference between 19,000 and 12,000. Well, 19 minus 12 is 7. So the estimate is 7,000. That means about 7,000 more people attended the concert on Saturday than on Sunday. And that makes sense. If you go back and look at your numbers, you're like, it seems reasonable. So I know it's a decent number, I've rounded correctly, and we have an estimated difference.